If you tried AI automation in your business and then quietly decided that it wasn't for you, I'm here to tell you something. It was likely never the tools, but the order in which you were doing it. Let me explain why. So I'm going to guess that you picked a task, you automated it. It probably took you a while to do, and it worked out fine. Not good, just fine. And that's a problem that a lot of people face. They pick the loud thing, the thing that stressed them out the most at the time. And those don't make for great automations. They don't really run really well. And if they do run, then you have to kind of jump in and quickly change and fix things along the way. By the end of this video, you'll have a ranked list of all the different tasks that you do, and you'll figure out the number one thing that you should automate first. Not the loudest thing, but the one that math decides. Hi, my name is Chantal. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Bampt, an AI automation studio. And this is the exact method that we take all of our clients through to figure out where they should start with their automations. And quick side note, if you're not a business owner, this methodology still works. It could be for side projects, personal things you want to automate, as long as you're someone who's doing the same things over and over and over again and want to figure out how to use AI automations to make them simpler, this video is for you. Let me name this really simply because it's going to be a mistake you're going to make when we jump into it. The tasks worth automated are not the ones that are going to come top of mind. They're probably the ones that you forgot that you've done because it's so small, so simple, but you're doing it so often that it becomes just the background of your mind. If I asked you to tell me in detail about the last time that you unlocked your door, you're gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" Like, it's just something you do so naturally and so easily and so common that you don't even think about it, but you do it every single time you come home. It's the same thing for the tasks that you do day after day, week after week, for work or otherwise. It just becomes second nature to you. So when it comes to thinking about what to automate, people tend to go for the loud thing, the angry client, the report that wasn't done, the thing that makes you scream, like, there's got to be a better way to do this. But here's the thing that people don't realize: the loud thing is not the most valuable thing. The loud thing is the thing that's stressing you out today. They tend to be one off, and honestly, they tend to actually require your judgment and shouldn't be left to AI or machine at all. But it's those things that you do 15 times in a week. It might only take 9 minutes to do, but you do them regularly. That is the one that you really need to pay attention to and the first candidates for automation. Let's face it, drama is a terrible ranking system. And I'm going to take you through those 5 steps right now to make sure that you know where to start with your AI automations. Giving credit where credit is due, the agent framework was created by Dane Studios and discussed in a peer reviewed paper. I adapted that into a kit, worksheets, and examples that are all available for free in the link below, and that I'm going to take you through today. Agent stands for audit, gauge, navigate, engineer, and track. Audit feeds gauge, and then gauge decides what to be engineered. The two most important parts are audit and gauge, and we'll go through those in depth today. And then the other pieces I'll give you the shape of, but then you'll have everything you need in the worksheets below to take you through them on your own. Fair warning about gauge. It's the step that almost everyone skips over when they do automations on their own, and it's the number one reason why they fail. So if you watch nothing else, watch the section on gauge. But stay with me for the whole thing because it actually does work together really well. Audit has one job: drag the invisible task you're doing all the time and bring it into the light. You're not solving anything yet, you're just taking inventory. There are 3 rules that I always encourage to make this really simple. Number one, capture now, judge later. The number one thing that people get hung up on is making a list, but then trying to judge which one is the right one real time. It doesn't work that way. You need to get it all down, and then you can assess things relative to one another as opposed to in isolation. Number two, do not try to audit from memory. The same concept. If you ask yourself, what are the 3 things that I did this week? The loudest, most dramatic things are going to come front of mind, and you're going to ignore 20 other things that should have been on that list. Instead, I always recommend that my clients pull from hard archives. One, your email. So look at your emails for the last 2 weeks and see who you're sending emails to and from and what nature of them. Two is the calendar for the last 2 weeks. Check all your meetings, checks all the things that you're spending your time doing with other people or on your own. Three is wherever the money's going. So invoices, QuickBooks, wherever you're monitoring your money, take a look inside there for the last 2 weeks and see kind of where you're spending your time and energy around that. And then number four is wherever your tasks live. If you're using Monday or Trello or anything else to organize your task list, Check that out for the last 2 weeks and pull that information into your audit. 2 weeks is a nice framework because it gives you a good sense of what's happening on a regular basis without overwhelming you on all the different things that you're doing. Rule number three, capture 6 facts about every task. And this is where the worksheet comes in to make that really simple for you to do across the board. So it's what the task is, what triggers it, how often it happens, how long it takes each time, what it touches, including tools and information and other people, and whether it's based on being rote or being judgment. So the rote versus judgment is used in the terminology on the worksheet, and it basically means, does the task need you? Rote things happen automatically without you, whereas judgment things require you to step in and make a decision about it each time. And there's also a way to mark off whether or not it's a combination of both. I promise you, this is not busy work. This is essential for understanding what your weeks look like. And then the basis of what you're able to then do the next step, gauge, to put the math behind deciding which one goes first. And honestly, I like to do this every so often for myself just to understand where my time is going. Automation or not, I think it's important for all of us to take a step back and look at the task that we're doing, understand what the weight of, what the impact, and what the importance of anything is at any given time. Now, if you're like me and you kind of get intimidated by the blank page syndrome, I call it, or you just have too many things going on and you can't figure out like where to start in terms of putting things down, there are 6 categories that I like to push people towards to help them kind of narrow in on those spaces to start. Number one is communication. So, what are the things that need your input and replies to on a regular basis, whether it's through Slack or through email or any other communication tool? Number two is scheduling. So, what are the things that are ending up on your calendar on a regular basis? The third category is intake and onboarding. If you have a client based business of any kind, what are the steps that are happening between someone first reaching out and then someone actually starting to work with you? Number four is moving data between apps. How many times are you doing copy and paste on a regular basis? And what are the 2 apps that you're moving information between the most? There's also reporting, follow up, content, and admin. And don't just try to put one thing for each category. Just get messy with this, get it all down. Don't worry about scoring anything yet. This is where you're really just doing a brain dump into the worksheet. If you're still finding yourself struggling to narrow in on tasks, in the free kit, you're going to find a couple of prompts to feed into your chatbot of choice to help you figure out what those different tasks should be. So go ahead and grab that link now and you can get going on those. So let's take a look at this filled out for a photography client. It's a 2-person team where Maya does the shooting and editing, and Dev handles all the inquiries and bookings. Their issues were pretty indicative of what I've seen with clients who do creative work, where the admin side of things was bogging them down so much that they couldn't get back to the core of the business. In this case, Maya wasn't able to get to editing because he was doing these daily tasks just to keep the business running and growing. So here's their inventory, 13 rows in total. Row one, reply to inquiries with the pricing guide. It happens about 25 times a month and takes about 12 minutes each time. This is the perfect example for a rote example because it doesn't really take much judgment or brain power. The pricing guide already exists. You're sending out the same one to every person, but you're going into the CRM, you're finding the person's name, you're making sure it's the right email, you're adding the pricing guide to it, you're sending that off. That's one of those tasks that you'll forget about, but it's happening 25 times a month. Same email at any time. Are you free at such and such time? It only takes 5 minutes to do. 5 minutes is like nothing, right? Except that it happens over 30 times a month. This is the third largest time suck of the month, and it probably would have been left off the list if you were just randomly thinking about the most important things that you thought you should be automating. And then there's row 13, create an AI chatbot to answer all DMs. And the trigger was that a competitor had it. This is the one that Maya kept wanting to come back to, and we're gonna come back to it later on, to just keep it in mind, because I think you might be knowing where the math is gonna take us in terms of where this ends up on the list. Please don't try to start ranking yet, we're gonna get to that. Just get everything down on your worksheet, and then we're gonna go from there. Gauge is the step that decides everything. AI automation tools in such a short time have become so easy to use that the tools themselves are not even the trouble. It's what to automate becomes the issue for most people. And this is when we decide which one to move forward with. And this is the step that most people skip, and not out of laziness, but because they feel like anything that delays building is actually delaying progress. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And the basis for this analysis is actually really simple. Two questions, two axes. One, the value. What does fixing this return to you? The value is based on two things that you already captured. One is the time that it takes, and two is what it costs you otherwise. So, annoyed clients or revenue or just draining you over time. Number two is effort. What would it cost you to both build it and maintain it over time? And again, you've already captured this. The touches. How many different people or tools does it need to touch on a regular basis? Two, the judgment. How much of the actual decision making is coming from you on a regular basis to move that thing forward? And then three is the fragility. How often are the inputs changing to maintain this thing over time? Rote tasks are cheap and easy to automate over time. Judgment ones really need to be thought through and make sure that it's the right call to even think about touching that in an automated way. And it's where a lot of people go wrong. You're then going to move forward, scoring each value and effort for each task from 1 to 5. Again, the idea is not to be precise. You're really trying to separate the fours and the fives from the ones and the twos and really easily knock things off the list at this point. One thing to note here is that scoring yourself can be really hard. You're way too close to the work sometimes. And so, in the free kit is a set of prompts that you can use to have your favorite chatbot work through that scoring with you and give you suggestions. So, feel free to grab that if you're feeling yourself stuck on what score to give each task. So, let's go back to that photography example. Sending that pricing guide is a value of 5 and an effort of 2. Super important for customers to know what is going to cost them to hire you, but also relatively low effort to email that out. It's really the number of times that's making that worth doing. And now let's get back to number 13, which was actually the automation that Maya brought her company to Bampt for to automate. And so that chatbot, while her competitors may have had it and she was really excited to have it built, we couldn't justify it based on the scores. And at the end of the day, when we really drilled into what the number one question was, it was all about that pricing question that we already solved with number 11. And so the answer wasn't to spend an entire weekend building out an AI automated chatbot. It was just to get that pricing guide automated out to people who were asking how much it cost to hire her. And that gap between the automation that you want, that you're dreaming about, that you think will solve all of your business's problem, and the one that's actually worth building first is the whole reason that this method exists. And a quick note, if you run a larger company, the same method works for you too. Here's another example of it run on a 12-person company that will work the same for a 50, 100,000 person company. In this example, a lot more ended up in the prize because the beauty of having larger teams is that a lot of these different tasks can be handled by different people in a way that a 1 or 2 person shop has a lot more riding on their shoulders. And both of these examples are available in the kits. You can find those in the description below for free. You can see the whole thing filled out with either the photography or the small company example. One more thing about the prize list. Yes, I have an AI automation firm. And so you might be thinking, oh, you're just trying to figure out which ones you guys can build. And the actual thing that I tell people all the time, if you have a low effort, high value task that comes out of doing this kit, just do it yourself. It's a great way to get to know the tools. You know your business better than I can. And so if it's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure and stress and time that you're using, and it's a low enough effort, go ahead and get your feet wet and build it out yourself. We're here if you run into things that are bigger or more complicated to help you work through that, but I always encouraging trying and learning on your own. Back to the worksheet, you know that you've done gauge right when you've had all of the different tasks ranked and one circle to be the first one to move forward with. This is the point where you realize the thing that you wanted to do doesn't really make sense to do. Don't take it personally. That's the whole point of doing this exercise is to make sure that you're using your effort and time in the right way. Let's move on to engineer. So you finished gauge, you have one task circled. This is the only thing you should be focusing on building out at this point. Don't try to do 3 automations at once. I know it's tempting, but just focus in on the one first. Here's the cool thing about the engineer step. No matter what task you're doing, it has the same 5 parts to building it out. Number one is the trigger. What kicks off the automation? You already spelled this out in your audit. Two are the input. What information needs to be fed into the system in order for it to carry out this task? Three are the steps. What are the repeatable things that are happening every single time to go from start to finish? Number four is the output. What does this automation create? 5 are the checkpoints. Where are the places that a human needs to come in to make sure that things are working properly with or before the output? So here's a step that everybody skips that I recommend that if you make this part of the way that you make your automations, it'll save you so much time. Before you start building, actually sit down and write out the steps one after the other as if it was a recipe. Get really granular, really specific, almost to the point of being boring. It's where the mistakes happen is when you skip over steps that are essential, especially the ones that are coming from your brain and not from a tool. Two rules that I always build into any automation. Number one is that I allow it to draft things, I never allow it to send. And so if you're having your automation, for example, with the photography guide, create a price guide email, I'm checking that output email to make sure that it's sending it to the right person's name. It has the right version of the pricing chart. It hasn't spelt anything wrong or left in any M dashes or anything else that I want edited out. Number two, your automation should be reversible. There's nothing worse than building out a complicated automation, having a break, and having no idea where the breaking is happening. By starting with a built out step by step recipe and then translating that to an automation, you're creating multiple little mini steps within an automation. And that way, if anything goes wrong at any specific point, you could figure that out, replace that section with the right API call, webhook, whatever the case may be, and not have it disrupt the whole chain of events in one go. Yes, it takes more time to make in the beginning, but it'll save you so much time in debugging and fixing in the future. There's a couple of prompts within the free kit that'll take you through the engineering phase, especially for some really common tasks that we see. So you can check that out there to kind of get you started on what that breakout looks like. Okay, so at this point, we've gone through all the different tasks that we've done. We've scored them, figured out which one to automate, and then we've built our automation. How do we learn to trust that automation to be front facing? One way to approach this is to have that automation move through three different phases. One is a shadow, where it's doing its task in the background and you're just kind of taking a look and seeing, is my recipe working? Two is supervise. Okay, so it's graduated from shadow and you're actually happy with its output on a consistent basis. You are gonna let it see the light of day essentially, but you're gonna make sure that you're the barrier to make sure anything that goes out is being seen and approved by you first. When it does that enough time that you trust that the output is right, it gets moved to trusted, where that automation then becomes almost fully hands off and is able to then send out, for example, the pricing email automatically versus needing a stopgap of supervised. One note, even when something is moved into that trusted category, we always recommend you still do spot checks, regularly scheduled checks to make sure that things aren't going off the rails. Taking a look at that photography example again, two of the inquiries failed on not having a wedding date. Not the end of the world, but something that needed to be caught and updated before it got sent out to the potential client. Okay, you've stuck around this long. We are at our last step of track. And it's the one a lot of people think are extra or an optional, but it really sets apart the thing that makes it a successful automation versus something you were just trying out and not actually moving a needle forward. And luckily, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're actually going to go back to those numbers from Gauge and just make sure that we actually did our scoring correctly. This not only makes sure that the automation you made was the right one, but as you go back to the list to then verify what your next automation should be, you're making sure that you were gauging that off of the right numbers to begin with. So there's three numbers that we look at to verify this. One is time back. And with this, we're gauging the actual time back versus what we assumed we would be getting back when we did the gauge phase. Number two is quality. How often does the automation require a human to engage with it and correct it? A task that got you an hour back, but then adds another hour of editing didn't really buy you any new time. And number three is adoption. Over time, are you actually still using the automation or did you quietly slip back into doing the task manually? And this is probably the most important of these three metrics because it doesn't matter how much time it potentially could be saving you if you're not actually using it. With these numbers, one of three outcomes will become very obvious to you. Keep it, fix it, or kill it. Taking a look again at that photography example, that auto DM did save them a lot of time, not as much as they thought, but definitely worth keeping it around since they're still using it. And that's a really good chunk of time to get back to you. While it might seem really painful to get rid of an automation that you spent time, energy, and resources building, the sunk cost of it is what drags people down even more. So it's better to stop doing it, get back to doing it manually as quickly as possible, rather than putting more time and effort into a failed approach. So, what have we learned? We learned to organize all of the tasks that we do on a regular basis, score and rank them, and decide which one is the best candidate for an AI automation. Build out that automation, make sure that it passes all the tests to be pushed into production, and then track and measure the metrics necessary to understand if that automation is here to stay or if it needs to be revised or gotten rid of. So, if you came in this an AI automation skeptic, whether you tried it and it didn't work out so well, or you were too intimidated to even give it a go, I hope this helps you change your mind that you'll easily give it a try. The whole kit, the framework, the worksheet, the filled out examples are all available for free in the link in the description. So go ahead and click that and download it and get going. If you have any questions while going through it, please comment below. And if you found this helpful, go ahead and hit the subscribe button because I will be back with more tips, tutorials, and news in AI. In the meantime, happy building.